Beyond and hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Dormish, and I'm your host for episode 571 of Beyond, our weekly PlayStation show here at IGN. I am joined this week by Lucy O'Brien.
Wait, do we say Beyond still?
You can if you want to.
Okay, Beyond!
There
Beyond.
we go.
Yay!
Yes. I'm also joined by Max Scoville.
I was told we were doing away with the shouting of Beyond.
And Brian Altano.
I was told it was divisive and that some love it and others hate it, but I'm going to keep doing it just a little bit just for me, so Beyond.
Do it randomly throughout the show. Just really drive it home, I think, for them.
There's a word for that.
We have a lot to talk about this week beyond the word beyond. We're going to look back at the year that was in 2018 for PlayStation, the crazy, amazing releases, the weird, some PR choices that they made, and the conferences and lack thereof throughout the year. We're also going to be talking about this weird thing that may have told us how many people actually have games on PlayStation, thanks to a weird trophy hack people have figured out. We're also going to take a look at some characters we think should be in Mortal Kombat 11.
Kombat! Hell yeah. Mortal Kombat. Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Kano, Liu Kang.
Mortal Kombat.
The lyrics to that song are the name of it and then the characters. It's great.
And then they say test your might to make sure that you're still there.
I don't think there are better lyrics to anything than that song.
It's really good.
That song's not on Spotify either. You got to go on like YouTube to find it.
Imagine you had 5 minutes to write a song and you're like, what if I just name the guys that are here?
We're also going to be talking about the Dreams beta is finally happening. Surprise, surprise. Of course, we'll do a little bit of a Kingdom Hearts minute and a trophy test later. But first, I want to light up everyone's day with
Is that a threat?
a look back.
Your sweater just lit up.
Oh,
2018, yeah.
How did you do that?
I don't want to say how, but there's a switch.
Is that
on the
Kingdom
side.
Hearts?
No, it is Hogwarts. It's
You could
Harry
have
Potter.
lied.
Yeah,
I would.
You wouldn't have known.
It's
Yeah,
either
that's-
Castlevania or Kingdom Hearts.
Did you
or
get
Hogwarts.
that
one
from
of the
Universal
others.
Studios? Or
I did not know.
Little
This
Trip?
is from Numbskull. Not Numbschool. That is a weird school.
For those of you
Don't-
listening to audio, Jonathan's wearing a sweater that is lighting
up.
I wasn't looking at him, so I didn't notice that. There's a lot of lights in this room, so it doesn't really stick out.
I think what also is lit up. I don't know how to say that.
It's
sentence.
lit, fam.
It's fine. It's lit, fam. Higgledies are lit. What has been lit this year has been 2018 for PlayStation.
That's right.
It's been kind of a crazy year. We want to take a look back at the year. All the big releases, the big news, everything. We're going to kind of go month by month through it all. So right off the top, let's start with, obviously, the beginning, January. It wasn't a huge news month necessarily for PlayStation. We did get one of the first 10 out of 10s on IGN this year, though, in Celeste, and PS4 had the exclusive Dissidia Final Fantasy NT fighting game. So, not a bad start to the year. January is normally a pretty dead time. Monster Hunter World also came out that year on the third-party side. So, if you needed something after Christmas, it seemed like a pretty good start to the year, I think.
And also, Celeste never left the conversation.
Yes.
It wasn't like Metal Gear Survive, where I was like, that came out this year?
Right.
We don't
Like,
talk
I was
about
just,
that game.
I was just very, I knew Celeste had come out in January because, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and everyone just continued to talk about it. Such a good game.
Yeah, you're totally right. I feel like there's a lot of games that come out in January that just leave the conversation halfway through the year. But this, if you had told me this game came out in May, I would have been like, yeah, totally, I agree. Celeste is really, really cool and really special, and I hope more people play it. I'm glad it's getting award recognition pretty much everywhere. We nominated for it a bunch of stuff here at IGN, and Jeff Keighley gave it some awards. So play this game. It's really special.
It is nominated for a few of our Best of 2018 awards. Those, if you don't know, will be live on December 21st. So you can look forward to the winners of our Best of 2018 games, movies, and TV shows there to find out if Celeste won. Moving forward, though, into February, we got, I think, 2 really awesome exclusives on different sides of PlayStation that I didn't think about it then, but looking back now, sort of set the benchmark for what the year would be like on both sides of it. So for PSVR, we had Moss, which is a really great entry and really smart use of VR to me. And then we also got Shadow of the Colossus, a fantastic remake and something that was a really big surprise when they announced it at, I believe, E3 last year. And so seeing those two at the start of the year felt like this really awesome, PlayStation's going to have a really great year.
I feel like that left the conversation pretty quickly.
Shadow?
For how much hype was riding behind it. I think a lot of people went back to that, and there were definitely tweaks to the remaster, remake, whatever we call it. But there are definitely, I don't know, some weird design issues with that game. And to play a sort of a early prototypical open world game that doesn't really have much in it, really is kind of, it's a strange, lonely experience of a game. But I don't know, I feel like the people who really loved it kind of quietly to themselves, and people who had problems with it just sort of moved on. And there wasn't really a lot of discourse about Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, we did give it one of our highest scores of the year.
Yeah, it got a 9.7, I believe, earlier this year.
Can I tell you like a terrible secret?
Sure.
It's not a secret
It's
anymore.
probably not a
It won't
great
be.
place to do that. But
When I
here we are.
originally played Shadow of the Colossus back in the day when it first came out, I played it right until the very end, right until the last Colossus, and
Singular.
and just stopped. I stopped
You
playing.
never finished?
I never finished.
Oh, no.
At the last guy.
You got the good ending. Technically.
So I know that there was a tragedy involved, but I'm not sure
Yeah, I
what
don't
it
want to
was.
spoil it, but yeah,
carry on.
that's an interesting. I've always thought about that with video games. They're not real. They're not real.
That's what you always think about
the
it.
sort of sentient understanding that like leaving one behind is just like, oh, they like the bad guys are still there and they're just hanging out and they're just like oppressing everyone or whatever. But Shadow of the Colossus is an interesting game. I feel like after The Last Guardian, it was a weird time to put that game out again and remind everyone of sort of the pedigree of that studio. We're also in this weird spot right now where we don't technically know what's next for them. Like, does anyone know?
No,
I don't
we,
think so.
we speculated about it for like 45 minutes and we have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, it's big. We're like, it's probably Metal Gear Solid 1. We're like, why? Why do we think that?
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah, for Blue Point. Yeah,
I
it's a
want that.
total.
Oh, Blue Point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for Blue Point specifically doing remasters and remakes.
I mean, like the team behind.
Eco?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Team Eco. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what's next. I don't know when to expect it. I don't know, like, fundamentally how they operate as a studio.
Sure.
Well,
after
didn't their main dude kind of leave to do his own thing on the side? And he
Yeah.
sort of
I think so.
was,
He
like,
left, I
contracted?
think, before The Last Guardian even ended, but he
Yeah.
was still
Yeah.
working on it.
I
at the
feel like
time.
The Last Guardian might have killed them.
Yeah,
You know? Like,
it's
I don't know
understandable.
what happens. I mean, the fact that Shadow of the Colossus was like released with, I feel like, almost more fanfare, and even that was kind of a quiet thing.
Yeah.
And that was a separate studio who handled it.
Yeah, I mean, I really like a lot of both of those games. I think they're both really special games that are also exceedingly frustrating. But if you get a chance to play them in like some crazy flash sale or something, like please do, because there's a lot to love there.
What do we think of PlayStation's remake process right now? Because remakes and remasters have been a huge part of this generation, but so their big focuses, at least within this year, have been the Shadow of the Colossus remake that came out, and then Medieval next year.
Right.
That's really their big push.
I know this is a weird thing to ask, but who wants Medieval? Like, is there a huge Medieval fan base? And
Sir
like,
Daniel
back in-
Fortescue?
Well, it's just like back in the day, Medieval was like the game. Like you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, but look at all these other great games. You can
Right.
play.
Right.
It was never like a big like come round to my house and play Medieval.
I like to think there is like a British Jonathan Dornbush. And like there's sort of the whole Elseworlds thing where Medieval is his Spyro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd see that.
I don't know. It's definitely got fans out there, but yeah.
I just thought it was an odd choice. Like go for it.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah. Knowing that like Shadow is one of the most vaulted and beloved games of that generation, and then to
exactly.
go to a game that people liked for sure, but yeah, isn't necessarily of that
We're going to be
caliber.
at a point where you look at the PS4 library and it's going to look sort of like a greatest hits console.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to, assuming that Final Fantasy VII Remake ever actually comes out, I think the only thing like
Probably not.
it probably won't come out for PS4. But I mean, we'll have a lot of those like kind of like Crash Spyros on there. There's a Spider-Man, there's a God of War. There's no Metal Gear. I mean, there's a Metal Gear, but it's not
We don't talk
It's
about
not a remake of Metal Gear.
I think the plan for these things is to ultimately reach a new, much bigger generation of people. I mean, there's millions of PS4s out there, and I think a significant portion of those people didn't even own any classic or sort of legacy Sony consoles. And so the job's on them to say, hey, we have this new thing. It's first-party exclusive. It's a remake of a 20-year-old game. It's really cool, and you get to be this guy. With Shadow of the Colossus, I think a lot of people might have looked at that game like it's just this brand new, gorgeous, really cool thing, and got to experience it for the first time. So I think ultimately there's like that old fan group who's like, oh, cool, I like this. I'm with you, Lucy. I was never really one of those people that was like, yeah, this is it. It's fine. Like
I just remember it being like aggressively fine.
it's triumphantly, incredibly, just outstandingly fine. But maybe they'll remake it and it'll be interesting and better. Yeah. And a bunch of people will find it for the first time. So I'm cool with that.
What was also fine, I think a little more than fine, was PlayStation's March, which included releases like Ni no Kuni 2, Barrett and I are huge fans of the Higgledies. Higgledies are lit. You'll remember from back in the day. MLB The Show 18. And then also, just as a note, PlayStation Plus had that awesome month of Bloodborne and Ratchet & Clank for PS4 were released.
That kicked ass.
That was a great...
That was a good goddamn month to have a PS4.
I have such fond memories of going to GameStop and buying MLB The Show 18 and Ni no Kuni 2 at the same time.
Ni no Kinotu?
No one has ever bought both of those games, but it's cool that like it sort of exemplifies how they are servicing a gigantic audience of people there. And yeah, that month was goddamn awesome.
Yeah, for PS Plus, that's pretty huge. We've seen months definitely waver back and forth between them. Also to note, though, that was the month where they said in 2019's March, they will stop supporting PS3 and PS Vita games as part of the monthly PS Plus free games lineup.
Which is cool. They gave people a year warning.
Yes.
They also softened the blow with 2 really awesome exclusives.
Yes, yeah. I think at this point, it totally makes sense. If you are playing on a PlayStation console, chances are it's a PS4. And so to put the free game focus there, and probably now, especially with so many people getting to PSVR, which we'll get to in a bit.
If we ever do like
it makes sense.
like a best month in PS Plus history, I think that's like...
That is up there.
Yeah, that's up there.
There was a really good month a couple years back that had one of the Uncharted's and XCOM 2 and like 1 or 2 other games, or XCOM 1 and a couple.
Right.
It was great, but yeah. Moving on into April. A little game called God of War came out. There was also Yakuza 6 came out, and they first teased the Spyro Reignited trilogy back then when I received a weird purple egg in the mail. So that was a pretty big month on both the news front. I think obviously Spyro is multi-platform, but was a PlayStation 1 mascot, and then of course God of War.
Can I talk about Yakuza for a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I expected it. That's why I put it on this list.
Yakuza 6 is super weird. Like I totally played that game, and I really loved a lot of it, but I also like I feel like our review pretty much nailed it. It's a weirdly sort of slim game in terms of what to expect from that series. And a lot of people I feel like aren't going to get to it for ages because there's 0, Kiwami 2. I feel like they're probably going to re-release 3, 4, and 5. But like 6 is a conclusion of a story. Like it is very much an end, and you can jump into it, but like I wouldn't even really recommend that. It's one of those things that's great if you love the characters, but like mechanically they were kind of trying out their newest engine, which is what Kiwami 2 is running on. So it's like it feels like light on features and on content and almost like a step backwards that's visually more impressive. But like, I don't know, it got a few shout outs in like, Game of the Year discussions. I mean, just, exclusives and stuff. But like, I feel like Kiwami 2 is overall a much better game, but that's not eligible for that conversation because it's a remake.
Yeah.
So it's super weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, like God of War surprised everyone.
Yes.
Like even the God of War fans were just taken aback because
I mean, I feel like like expectations were pretty high.
They were high, but mainly because of previews and like stuff like that. I think the average Joe wouldn't have thought that a God of War game could be what it was when this game arrived. Like I was hyped because people had played it and they were hyped.
Yeah.
But otherwise I would have just been like, oh, it's another God of War.
I could have sworn going in that this was going to be an incredibly linear experience akin to some of the more tunneled stuff in like the Tomb Raider games.
Yeah.
Where there are big set pieces, but much crazier boss fights. Things crumble and you never go back. Instead, we got this sort of quasi open world, incredibly beautiful, heartfelt video game about a father and son, and it was touching and moving and something I'll remember for the rest of my life. And
Such a good game.
yeah, and I never ever
It's so good.
It's all right.
One of my big takeaways from God of War is that I read somewhere, someone might have tweeted it out, like a game designer or something, like, don't make your game open world unless it has to be, unless like there are absolutely no other arguments. Like, and I think God of War did that so well. I think if that game had been purely open world, it would have lost a lot of what made it so special.
Yeah.
So like it was just a lesson in sort of keeping things smaller, keeping the vision just a little bit smaller, and the game was so much stronger for it.
It really.
I was going to say, I think the narrative also supports it. Like the fact that it is this incredibly like wide linear experience it's in a world, but the whole premise of the game is like a journey that's taking place.
Right.
And that point of like you're getting from point A to point B, there will be sidetracking here, but like to not just turn players loose and be like, your motivation is to go do a bunch of crap all over.
It's also
Collect
that
some stuff.
it's that the journey is not about urgency per se, because it's the most tragic thing to happen in that game happened before the game even begins, or effectively when it starts. And we've talked about this on the show before, and I think that's like it's a really smart approach to narrative because as a player, it makes me want to sort of meander a little bit. It's not like I've always said in like Breath of the Wild, like you feel kind of like an asshole getting like every Korok seed when someone's like, "Hey, help!" And in this, it's like, well, she's dead. You can put her ashes on the mountain, but first, like, let's go catch some like nets. There's treasure in the sea.
This ghost wants you to find his other dead wife and see if you can help. Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's pretty compelling in Breath of the Wild when there's an unstoppable evil that has enchanted the entire land, but there's a guy who really wants to hook up with this woman, so he wants you to catch bugs.
Yeah, and if you collect every single seed, a large leaf gives you a golden turd. That's a real thing.
That needs urgency. He had to work on that a lot. Yeah, Lucy, I totally agree with you. I think those constraints helped make God of War so incredible. It is nominated for our Game of the Year award. It won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. We will see what happens on IGN. Very exciting, though, that we got that game this year. Moving on, also in May was Detroit Become Human, the latest from Quantic Dream. Lucy, you reviewed that. Yes, you gave it an 8.
I gave it an 8, and I was expecting...
Don't you mean a hate in your ongoing war against David Cage and his cohorts at Quantic Dream?
So,
was it difficult writing a video game review and also being a girl?
It was incredibly difficult. It was a real struggle. But like, to be completely honest, like I was really nervous going into that review because I'd reviewed Beyond Two Souls and I'd also reviewed the remaster of Heavy Rain, and I'd like scored Beyond Two Souls a 6 and scored the remaster of Heavy Rain like something much lower than the original score, right? So I was like, I feel really weird going into this review because of what if I hate it as much as I hated? I mean, I shouldn't say hate because I did give it a 6. Let's not be crazy here. 6 does mean okay. But like, yeah, Beyond was such a wreck. I found Detroit to be actually pretty compelling. It was super like cheesy and dorky, and it was so on the nose. But I did find that the branching storylines actually worked. Like it was one of those games where if you played it differently, you'd have a completely different outcome. And I was playing it with a whole bunch of other people at the time, like other people who were reviewing it in Australia, and we all had like totally different outcomes. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. And there's something to be said about that because that's what you're playing these games for.
I'm honestly like kind of pissed at myself for not playing it when everyone else was, because I robbed myself that experience. That's what I love the most about Heavy Rain, was playing it while I worked here, coming to work and talking to people about it, because everyone had a different. They're like, oh, I let that guy go in the meat shop or whatever, and then he killed my friend. I'm like, oh, I killed him in the meat shop. Thank God for that. Like, and everybody has a different story, which is really cool. I think it was like I tweeted out like a couple months ago my favorite games this year, and a like not insignificant amount of people were like, "Where the hell is Detroit?" The game sold pretty well, and I think it's got like a really passionate fan base of people it really connected with. I had a sort of tough time disconnecting it from the studio politics that were happening at the same time, or weren't happening, wherever you land on that. There was just a lot of like bad PR funneling into that.
It wasn't the best time.
It wasn't the best time
around that game's launch. It did. It has gone on to sell 2 million copies.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it's done well. We'll see what happens with Quantic Dream and PlayStation's relationship in the future. What comes next from them?
I think I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah,
I was also like at the very tail end of Westworld season 2, and I was like, I can't with this. Like, is a robot love? Like, I just couldn't.
It is a very like common story, right? Like that's the question.
Yeah, but I think it was an interesting.
Those android costumes. I really didn't like their little jumpsuits.
You really are
They
harboring
were just
this
like synthetic or replicant or whatever their names were.
I like that they keep them in like action figure blister packs, but they're giant, and they break them. It's great.
Well, May gave way to June, which was, of course, E3 was the dominant topic. For me, most importantly, Kingdom Hearts 3 finally got a release date, which was not this year, but I'll take it anyway, January 29th, 2019. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Anyway, E3, PlayStation had this strange conference that wasn't really a conference, where they brought people around this like 4 different rooms of experience, and also cut back to in this strange area where it was sort of an event arena, but then also they had an off-site sort of conference bit going on where they're like, by the way, New Game Plus for God of War will be coming soon. It was all over the place.
So strange. Were you guys on the live show, or were you actually there?
I was with you in the live show.
Yeah, that's right. You were. And like we were just like,
Oh, that was interesting. We were airing on like the Disney Channel, and they were like, we might have to cut some of this, and I'm like, you think maybe The Last of Us isn't really going to be, like the thing for the 8 to 12 audience?
The Big Hero 6 animated show is very dark. So
yeah, did they kill anyone with a hammer?
All
like
the time.
like a any disemboweling? But no, like yeah, we were like waiting around to try to cover this and do a post show, and it kept jumping from like a mandolin performance. And we were like texting Destin, who was like, they're putting us in caravans. I don't know where we're going. We're like, what is happening?
Like, I'm sure it was, I say, like, at the time I was like, I'm sure it must have been really fun if you were there. And then I spoke to people who were there and they were like, no, we were just shuffled around.
Yeah.
It was, I watched from home because I was on paternity leave, and it was even there incredibly like jarring and yet like oddly fascinating experience because it kept teetering between here's a brand new trailer and like here's the stage that's in the trailer you're watching and we built it for real, and then like here's a podcast, and then here's a live music performance. But within all that, we got some really interesting announcements. We got some like new gameplay for some like tentpole games. I just feel like they overexerted themselves with this wildly ambitious press conference to the point where they're like, we need a year off.
Yeah.
And now they're just not going to show up for it next year. So I'd wish they had done something a little more traditional, especially because we don't know if that's going to be potentially their last E3 press conference ever.
Yeah. And we also don't know, obviously we got Spider-Man in the fall, but a lot of the stuff that they showed that was first party with Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and Last of Us Part 2 are still relative unknowns in their future.
Yes.
So it was curious to see. And then it was sort of this thing where after E3, Spider-Man was their big push. That was sort of their main focus beyond all of that. And
I wish so much I hadn't seen that Spider-Man presentation at E3.
They showed a lot at E3, and then they had in July, like moving into July with that 1-2 combo of Spider-Man, they had a big Hall H Comic-Con panel for Spider-Man where they showed a new trailer, they revealed new characters, they showed the PS4 Pro, which was an awesome PS4 Pro.
Yep.
But there was just all of this Spider-Man going on, and the game was just 2 months away, and it felt like a lot.
It was, but I think for me it was the first time I was like, oh, Spider-Man is a video game. It's a real, fully functional open world video game, and this is what it can do. And I think until then I was like, what is this? It felt like they were kind of hiding all of the strings that were holding that game up. And then it turned out to be this like really, really great thing.
And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we got our first look at Death Stranding gameplay, and we actually know less about it after seeing it in
That's
action.
exactly what I was going to say. It's like Death Stranding was counter to that.
Yeah.
Do you think you can deliver the mummy fast enough to escape the ghosts? I don't know what that game is about. I have no idea.
The more people explain it, and the more people like come back from like, I don't know, brunch with Kojima, and they're like, oh, he told me everything, and whatever you think is upside down. I'm like,
Totally different.
Yeah, it was a curious showing, and knowing that there won't be that showing next year leaves us in a very weird space with them. But the year trudged on for PlayStation beyond that. July, obviously, as we mentioned, was light. August, just going to go quickly through, was Guacamelee 2, Firewall Zero Hour for PSVR, and Yakuza Kiwami 2. Pretty great month in what is usually a pretty dead time. And then moving on into September was, of course, Spider-Man and Dragon Quest XI, which we haven't talked about that much, but I know the Beyond audience loves. Jared Petty, who reviewed it for us, loved it. Obviously, there's a lot of love for that game. Spider-Man dominated the conversation that month, though. I think it's pretty obvious to say. Though, interestingly, as I was doing research on everything, September was also when they canceled PSX, announced crossplay with Fortnite as a beta program that may or may not apply to other games, and then also revealed that PS Now has downloadable games that you can play offline for PS2 and PS4. So while September was big with Spider-Man, it was kind of a crazy month in general for
right, yeah.
What did you all think of, just quickly, some of those news bits? I thought,
they didn't cancel PSX. They just said they weren't
for the
having
year.
it.
They weren't having. Yeah, excuse me. I think we all approached it from the idea of cancel, but they never confirmed it was happening.
Yeah, which is weird. We just assumed it would happen because it had happened for a few years in a row.
And it had been a real focus. It didn't feel like it was sort of like running out of steam.
Yeah. I think that like this was a weird year for them because they finally put pencils down on a lot of projects and they shipped them and they got them out there. And then it left them in this weird limbo where there was a bunch of stuff that was X percentage done that we don't have release dates for. And so I just don't think they didn't have like an E3 press conference worth of stuff ready to go for PSX. And it just people would have been like, this is bad. And that kind of sucks because the way this console cycle kind of ebb and flowed, they got a bunch of great games out. And like we got Spider-Man, God of War, they got Detroit, a bunch of first-party stuff, exclusives. And and then we don't know the next wave. So they just had to kind of put their heads down for a little bit.
Honestly, looking at it from this perspective, Sony's 2019 is a huge question mark.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like, what if, okay, hear me out. What if they announce new hardware and they're like, it's playable at PSX, we're having that in August? Like, how insane would that be if they were like, we're doing this thing, everyone come see it in person, it comes out in November or whatever. Like,
Sure.
that would be like crazy.
I feel like they're either gearing up for possibly something crazy like that, or the chance that it is a quiet year and wanting to slowly recede before having to deal with those, like, bit by bit, rather than making 2019 seem like a disappointment throughout the year. Right now, it's the disappointment. We can kind of forget about that next year.
I feel like an insane person because I still feel like it's too early to like even start this next gen console conversation. I mean,
I don't think you're an insane person. I think you're a boring person for not getting excited.
I think they
Great
just.
time over
I mean,
here.
they just sold a ton. First of all, I like when you guys were playing like stuff like Spider-Man and God of War and Red Dead. Were you like, oh man, my PS4 Pro can't hold up?
Only because
Yeah.
of the fan. That's
Yeah.
the only part. The fan was running a bit too hot.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah,
It gets a little jet.
You mean
engine.
yourself or the thing inside the PS4?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, both were very excited.
No, but you're right. Like at the end of the PlayStation 3 life cycle, I was like, you could feel it.
Yeah.
You could feel that console was really struggling. Whereas the PS4 Pro it's great.
Yeah, I mean, and the system's selling really well. You look
Yeah.
at Black Friday sales. I'm sure we're gonna get MPD in January for the full year, and for December and November, and it's like nothing of any of that will be indicative of we need to get a new console out ASAP.
Well,
like with the Switch and the Wii U dying out, they were like, God, get this thing out of there. Like
No,
satiate.
I mean, I love how they're like, hey, we're actually we're not doing much. We're doing less than we normally do. And I'm like, what if they do more than ever? But I mean, that's what's really
Could
cool
be
about
the
this is
reversal.
either way, like, our hype is completely dependent on expectations.
Yeah.
And I think that especially look at something like Red Dead, the less you see of something, the more of like a magical, wondrous experience it is when it like finally comes out and we all experience it.
Yeah.
I feel like Spider-Man, if I'd played Spider-Man having seen like that sort of the first two reveals or the first two E3s they showed it at, I would have been even more blown away than I was. And I love that game.
Yeah.
But like we get to that tail end of that like pre-release cycle where it's just they're just like sprinkling on more marketing stuff, and you get to that, you're like, I've seen too much. Like, this isn't new to me anymore. You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah. It is pretty crazy. And Brian, you were speaking to the fact of there's no shortage of want for both the PS4 but also PSVR. And I kind of want to talk about October and November a little bit together as we go toward the tail end of this, in the fact that those 2 months had Astrobot, Tetris Effect, and Deracine all as PS4, specifically PSVR exclusives. Tetris Effect you could play without PSVR. And that system just had this new life with all of these bundles that were on sale, but especially they discounted the price on Black Friday. And it feels like more than ever, PSVR is now a much more vital part of the PS4 ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I think it really just depends on how they support that going forward, what that looks like.
Yep. I mean, I feel like Moss felt like this encore for 2017, which was a great year for PSVR, and then everything just went quiet for a while, and I kind of put mine away and was like, oh, is this like, was that it? Was that the whole run of like fun things to do with this? And then that fall hit, and it was a complete renaissance for the platform. The Black Friday sales reignited it. There was a whole bunch of people that are finding it for the first time. Just anecdotally, people are constantly in my mentions now, like, what should I get? What should I buy? Where's the list? And so hopefully we will get something like
No, I mean,
soon. But
Moss and Astrobot were 100% the God of War and Spider-Man for PSVR. Like, those were the two like big sort of flagship games that were just like, oh, hey, these are AAA VR games.
Tetris
Here they
Effect,
are.
though, was the one that I think brought a lot of people out who hadn't, like, I think that was a legit system seller. Like, honestly, I think Astrobot was for people who had the system already, and I think Tetris Effect was one of those things where they're like, oh man, I gotta buy one of these. Like,
It's been pretty incredible, and I've had that weird experience where, like, I love Tetris and playing. I did not think I could love Tetris more, but somehow Tetris Effect has made that happen. It's also been really fun to, like, my girlfriend will be in the VR headset while I play, and which occasionally will be bad when she like jerks her head around to go see something. I'm like, no, I need to see where the bricks are, but keep doing that. But it's
that's awesome. I never even thought to do
as
that.
just more like we talk about VR as this so like it gates you off from everyone. It prevents you. And I've found unique things with that, or something like Beat Saber, which was ported to PSVR as well, as being this ability to have multiple people interact with VR. And I think they've been doing a continued great job of that, and I'm really excited to see what they do in 2019. Before we move to December, obviously, of course, don't want to forget October. They mentioned the name change beta announcement was a thing, and you'll finally be able to
Sony's real game of the year right there.
change. Well, except for the fact that it won't work with all games. You may have to change back to your old name. It's clearly a forward-thinking move. We talked about it a bit on the show. It's clearly something they're looking for, planning for whatever the PS5 is.
I don't know if Alana mentioned this when she was on the show.
Rest in peace.
Yes. But one of the real bummers that I've discovered, and I always knew that it was a thing, I just never it never affected me, is that PlayStation is region locked. So I have to start all over again. I have to leave my...
Because you just moved to America.
Because I just moved to the States and I've got an Australian PSN account and I can't use any codes or anything like that on that account unless they're Australian. So I have to start again with a whole brand new name.
That's
Did
a
you
good
choose
problem.
No trophies.
Oh, no. Did you choose your name yet?
No, I haven't chosen
Okay.
it yet. I'm clinging on. I can't bear to.
Well, be sure to write into the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/podcastbeyond to tell Lucy what her new name should be. Good luck, Lucy. And of course,
Yeah, thank you.
November was Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't want to go too long into it, if only because we've spent, I think, multiple episodes with that show, really, with that game as the focus of the show. But clearly it has impacted not just us on the show a lot, but I think the whole industry, the conversation around that game and Rockstar itself, in addition to when we finally got our hands on the game and just what it meant for so many people. I think was a tremendous conversation that we had and are continuing to have as we go on. Moving then into December, just really quickly, Persona Dancing came out. Andrew Goldfarb, that is for you. Spider-Man's DLC is wrapping. We have not played it before this episode. This episode will go up before it actually finishes, so we can't tell you how that was, but hopefully you enjoy it. PUBG also finally came to PlayStation, and then the PlayStation Classic came out and kind of underwhelmed everybody.
What a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have one?
No, not personally. I wanted one, and then I decided against it. Yeah. It just felt like it's a weird, sad note to kind of end the year on.
Yeah. Because it was such a strong year, and then again, it came out just as I was moving, so I didn't actually get my hands on it. But yeah.
I mean, since we reviewed it and discussed it and stuff like that, people have kind of tore into it a little bit, not just on Metacritic, but physically, and they've hacked it. It's apparently incredibly easy to break into. Sony basically made it just ridiculously accessible to
plug in a keyboard.
You plug in a keyboard, and you can just drag and drop games onto it essentially. So
everyone found the games they tested on it, and it's every game you wanted on the PlayStation Classic, but wasn't there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So that's cool. I think that and I saw they were already $20 off in some sales here and there. So keep an eye out for it. If you want to add your own games, I'm probably telling you to do something illegal. I don't care. Look for a sale, add your own games, and you'll have a tiny awesome PlayStation under your TV, and you can fix the problem that they created.
Well, that sounds fun, Brian, but I have another suggestion. Obey the law. Don't be a crook.
That's fine. You go hang out with the cops, you snitch.
And if you have a Raspberry Pi, good luck. You just have everything.
It's that time of year to grab your hammer busters and roasters because Borderlands 2 VR is almost here in all of its shooter-looter glory on PlayStation VR. Thanks to Borderlands 2 VR and PlayStation VR, this week we're giving away a code for Borderlands 2 VR and a Funko Pop Tiny Tina action figure. All you have to do to enter is fill out the form in the link on the screen here or in the video description, where you'll also find official rules for the giveaway. Good luck!
I just got to play Borderlands 2 VR on the PlayStation VR. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh, it was crazy. You look up and you see the sky, you look down, you see your feet, it's craziness.
It's very cool to run in one direction and turn your head to the side and just old school drive it. Bow, 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 bow. I'm happy I got to see my guns, the style that I like, already in there, prepped for me to go, and I just took off with it and ran.
Borderlands 2, it was really fun, man. It was fast. That's the best way that I can say is it was pretty action-packed.
I got to actually step into the world of Pandora and shoot all different kinds of weapons and run around.
It was pretty engaging because I felt I was in that world. It's cool to have that 3D space to move around in.
You feel like you're part of the characters. You can see your hands inside of the content. Borderlands 2 did that pretty well.
Definitely felt like I was there because you would hear a sound over here and then you'd have to turn and get it. I was surrounded and it was scary because it was all over the place. It was really cool.
It's a very immersive experience, and this is something I can't get from anywhere else.
I never felt like it got away from me. The whole idea of playing Borderlands 2 in VR, that in itself, just the whole idea that you can do that is kind of the best part of it, in my opinion.
Before we move on with December, I want to tie a little bit of news into the top of the show. Obviously, this has been a pretty crazy, great year for PlayStation with some odd moments peppered throughout it. But at the very tail end of this year, Media Molecule, who's been making Dreams, they said the Dreams beta would finally be launching this year, and they were sticking to that. Andrew and I were waiting. Day by day, we have been writing yearly Dreams beta and Dreams release window stories every year for the last 3 years. And finally, the beta is coming out. It launches the day this episode goes out, so December 19th. That beta, though, is only a creator's beta, so you have to follow Media Molecule's newsletter to get into that. It's under a confidentiality agreement. The public at large can get into the beta at the beginning of the year, and it'll run through most of January. But that game is now finally somewhat of a reality.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I say this as someone who has probably written one of these pieces, but I'm really sick of the what the hell is Dreams? Like, all right, let's see what it is.
Yes, yeah. I'm curious how much they will put into the hands of people, because it is really a question of how far along this beta is. But I do think it's nice to actually see progress on this game.
Yeah, and whatever we see spin out from the creations of this thing are going to be better than any ad campaign they can possibly run for it. Because if people latch onto this and start making weird, crazy things, I think that's the thing that will make people kind of pick their ears up a little bit and go, oh, you can do that?
Oh, definitely. I remember chatting to Media Molecule when it was still kind of in its, like, early stages, and they were just like, we want this to not just be a tool for video games, we want it to be a tool for, like, DJs and directors and all this sort of thing. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting, unexpected stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yes, I could imagine, Brian, I'm excited to hear what album you produce within Dreams.
Yeah, I also just might make dicks.
That's fair, yeah.
I was going to say, what's the over-under on when we're going to see some really weird stuff with like Knuckles and Waluigi?
It comes out December 19th, so December 19th.
Yeah,
good answer.
When that's going to happen. But yes, obviously that has been the year for PlayStation 2018. A crazy amount to talk about, a crazy amount to go through. Because we spent so much time on that and are a little more pressed for time, going to skip a little bit of discussion about that trophy stuff, but you can read about it on IGN.com. Max, I wanted to go into the fact that Mortal Kombat 11 is coming out. You're excited and put together a little bit of a list of characters you want to see in Mortal Kombat, and why.
I like fighting games in 2018 because they're completely insane nonsense. There was a point where you're like, oh, these characters are never going to show up in, like, you know, this dimension. Whatever. Like Super Smash Brothers, for instance, you've got like Ryu and Ken and Snake fighting, you know, Bayonetta. Characters
and
from like other platforms are showing up. It's completely out the window. And I love that
they've weaponized like playground arguments that we had as kids.
Yeah.
That Joker announcement was insane.
Yeah. Well,
Max got photo evidence.
Yeah, and I love that like Mortal Kombat is sort of taking the more like mature and teen rated route with that. And with the past two games, with Mortal Kombat 10 and with Injustice 2, they've been putting all sorts of stuff in those games that people weren't really expecting through DLC. We got a bunch of horror icons in Mortal Kombat. I keep wanting to say X. Was it X? Was it just Mortal Kombat X?
Yeah, we call them Mortal Kombat X, I think.
It sounds way cooler, and Mortal Kombat should sound as cool as possible.
It was funny when they showed the Mortal Kombat 11 trailer, someone in the office was like, is it Mortal Kombat 2?
Yeah.
Because of the ones.
But yeah, no, they had Freddy, Jason, Predator, Xenomorph, and Leatherface in Mortal Kombat, which is just like, that is such a like an 8-year-old's dream come true.
Yeah.
And Injustice 2, they managed to prove that wasn't just a DC game, and they had Ninja Turtles.
A very warped 8-year-old, by the way.
Yeah, I had a rough childhood. And then Hellboy, and I keep going back and forth on this. Was Spawn in Injustice 2? I can't even. I don't know. I think maybe he was. I'll
check it out while you go through.
No?
Oh,
okay.
thank you.
So here's the thing. If you Google which characters were in DLC, you get all these weird fan-made videos that are like, yes, the Spawn reveal, along with like Jigsaw, and like it's some like homebrew like weird CG stuff. So I'm like, is this official? I don't think this is official. This is totally fake.
Well, and Todd McFarlane on an AMA on Reddit a couple days ago was just like, yeah, I think Spawn is coming to Mortal Kombat 11.
It's kind of weird that the confirmed characters for Mortal Kombat 11 are like Raiden, 2 versions of Scorpion, and Spawn? Question mark?
Possibly, yeah.
Spawn is like the most on-brand character you could possibly have in Mortal Kombat. He is the most like 90s like 90s teenage aggression incarnate. Like he's a perfect fit. I love it. He makes perfect sense. But I figured I would add a bunch of my own suggestions to this terrible list.
So who else you got?
So here's my thing. I think this is kind of out there. I think Geralt of Rivia.
Okay.
I think Geralt makes a ton of sense. We already got, good lord, Barrett's showing the wrong picture. That's Henry Cavill as the unbearded Geralt of Rivia from the
that's
I
the
don't want
Geralt
that
everyone's
version.
going to know well soon. So
Lord.
get warm.
So Geralt popped up in Soul Calibur 6, which was published by Bandai Namco in Europe. Or that's who publishes that game, period. Bandai Namco published Witcher 3 in Europe, and WB Games published it stateside. So it kind of makes sense for like this CD Projekt Red character, kind of like both sides of the fence. He also showed up in Monster Hunter, which is Capcom. So like clearly they have no qualms about like just letting him go play wherever. And I mean he's a kind of an M-rated character. He does a lot of disembowelments and finishers and has cool swords and
Loves baths.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Michael Myers is what?
Yeah.
In the hell, Barrett?
Yes.
You're showing the wrong picture. That's the one. Yes.
Yeah,
Michael,
baby.
Not the one from not Austin Powers. The one who's scary with the knife and the jumpsuit. He's owned by Universal, who've done a ton of collaboration with WB Games, and like we saw basically, I'm taking a lot of this list from what we saw in like Lego Dimensions, and then being like, okay, but what if it was bloodier?
Yeah, Michael Myers would be a good choice, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just a slow, like 8 foot tall hammer dude.
Yeah.
He's a lumbering knifeman.
Yeah,
I love that.
He'll
yeah,
do pretty
it's-
well.
They could do some fun stuff with that, but yeah, I mean, you say like Freddy, Jason, Leatherface. Who's missing? You know,
Yeah.
Austin Powers, I think.
Yeah, baby.
Now that we've thought of that.
If they put
Or-
Austin Powers in Mortal Kombat, I am jumping off a bridge.
Or the Michael Myers mask from Baby Driver that they
Okay, that's
I'm
quite
jumping
enough.
off a bridge onto the roof of a GameStop so I can go into the store and buy this game.
Oh God.
I'm running into traffic so I can cross the street and pre-order this game. Chucky, this is a weird one. No,
Yes.
Barrett. God
Yeah.
damn. Yeah, not Chucky
All of the
Finster.
Rugrats.
They're the same. They're the
every
same.
Rugrats.
they are
Yeah.
the same.
That's the same
They are
character.
the same.
The one problem here is that
Weirdly.
he's way too small. I did some research on this, and I was like, how was the shortest Mortal Kombat character?
He's super agile though.
He would
like
be-
he's a small little unit.
He's like Yoda in Attack of the Clones.
It would be
everyone's favorite Star Wars.
I mean, they
movie.
put Yoda in Soul Calibur. It's not impossible to have like a teeny tiny character in a fighting game, but he's like 29 inches tall. The shortest Mortal Kombat characters, fun trivia fact, according to the internet, is 3 different female characters who are all 5'9".
Okay.
There's like that's like the tallest, the shortest character is.
What
is like
about
still,
if it's 2 Chuckies in a trench coat trying to get a bank loan?
Ooh, Vincent Adultman.
What if it's Chucky and what's his face? His wife. What's his wife's name?
Bride
Bride
of
of
Chucky.
Bride of Chucky.
Everyone looking at you because you have that.
I've got the doll. What's
Yeah,
it?
what's her
Tiffany?
name?
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Yeah,
It's like
Chucky.
Chucky-
It's like a murderous ice climbers from Smash Brothers.
That would
Yeah,
be,
but they could
that would be really
work
cool.
in tag team.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She can launch him at people.
Here's a big one. I think
Also,
this would,
Jennifer Tilly needs to be in that game.
Jennifer
That
Tilly
would be
announced
amazing.
more. It's just Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah.
It's not even. Yeah. Pennywise.
That makes a lot of sense.
Pennywise would be weirdly ridiculous, but I think like in that way that I thought the Xenomorph would be weirdly ridiculous. Like it's like I sort of feel that he would be inherently overpowered because he would just conjure up your worst nightmare.
Okay, but I want
and
to point
then
out
you
this
would.
is Mortal Kombat, where like a demon emperor of another dimension fights a cop. Like Mortal Kombat has like, where's the ground? It doesn't.
What are those people?
One more note. It's not real. So they could just cap his powers at a certain level, so he wouldn't just like
able to meet him.
haunt the whole game
Again,
world forever.
They could. Well, that's true.
This
they
is
could do
playground
that.
argument. The game
Yeah.
True.
for the tough kids who say F words in
Yes.
the corner of the playground, not the Smash Bros kids over by the teacher.
It'd be fun if you could spray him with a little bit of the asthma inhaler, like in the miniseries.
That's just the fatality.
That's a fatality.
So my argument for this is first of all, it is put out by WB, which makes perfect sense. Mortal Kombat comes out in April.
Chapter 2.
Yeah, that's September, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So it would be like perfect timing for Barrett is doing scary things with that awful clown. But I mean, I love that he's got that right balance of like, here's something sort of familiar that's been subverted by dark people that Mortal Kombat characters often have.
Yeah.
And also like he disembowels people. It's like completely on brand. He could bite people's heads off. He's got like scary teeth.
America's favorite toilet clown.
Toilet Clown is back, and he's coming. It'd be also weird if they just threw in like a generic clown character that was just like a ripoff.
Just
Why don't you
clown.
just
Yeah. Get the dude from Twisted Metal. He's not working.
So on the scary clown front, obviously NetherRealm's done a ton of stuff with DC. I mean, we had at this point 3 games that are sort of DC infused Mortal Kombat. And I think Batman would be a perfect fit, aside from the fact that he doesn't kill people, except if you watch the last 5 movies he was in, where he totally kills people. But no, I think a good fit here would be the Batman Who Laughs, who's kind of a recent introduction to the DC universe. He's kind of an Elseworlds version who's like a hybrid Joker Batman murderer character. And do we have an image of this, Barrett? I sent you one. I don't know if you checked your emails or whatever. He's just showing this Ben Affleck version.
No, he was looking up pictures of Chucky Finster. And
He's
stuff.
too busy Googling the various DCU stars, whatever. But no, so I think this would be a good fit because he's just like a very evil Mortal Kombat-ified version, and he's got like spikes all over him for no reason. He like uses chains and stuff. He like turns children into monsters. It's just like it's gross in that good Mortal Kombat way, and it's also like helping kind of draw some attention to sort of the DC thing. Obviously, we had Sub-Zero and Scorpion showing up in Injustice, so like really
it makes sense.
Style guide is out the window at this point.
Other WB characters, or at least they have in the realm of use. Who else do you got?
Hear me out. Voldemort. I think Voldemort should be in Mortal Kombat.
He would be so silly, though.
I want
What
to
a
just
silly character.
Is it Ray Fiennes as Voldemort? Not Tom
Barrett
Riddle.
picked the wrong pictures for all of these. I sent him pictures, and he picked the wrong, not the sexy young one, but the old one who looks like a snake. Scary Ray Fiennes with the funny nose.
That would be great.
Who just goes around killing parents and doing all sorts of bad stuff. It would be good. I feel like this is never going to happen because, obviously Harry Potter is much more of a family-friendly franchise.
Yeah, it's too pure.
JK would never allow it.
Mum-Ra. I'm getting kind of out on a limb here. I think
type anything on this list.
No, man, this is what
Whatever-
we're doing here.
whatever you want.
I've got like 8 more of these too. We're gonna keep going.
Oh boy.
So Mum-Ra the Ever-Living, he is a mummy who hates the Thundercats. Most recently, WB revealed the new Thundercats cartoon, and a whole bunch of people got really up in arms because Thundercats is supposed to be for adults, as everyone knows.
Yeah, they're cats with thunder. That's that's what I grew
Pure
up.
That's a man's cartoon right there.
Yeah, come on.
Get me out of here.
No.
But no, so Mum-Ra he's a scary mummy. I feel like he's pretty much the most Mortal Kombat looking. Like either him or Skeletor would be a really good fit in Mortal Kombat. Skeletor kicks some ass. Moving on, Doom Guy.
Yeah.
I know he's supposed to be called the Doom Slayer. I think he's cooler sounding Doom Guy.
Doom Guy is better.
He's known for ripping and tearing. I don't know how you put like a first-person shooter hero in a fighting game, but stranger things have happened. And also, like, I don't know if Bethesda's cool with like sharing their IPs.
Well, the real question that all of these come down to is, are you okay with having your character get his spleen torn out?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, can we see his lungs, and then can she eat them?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's really what it comes
I love
down
that
to.
there was that whole conversation around Wreck-It Ralph of like the different game companies being like, our character has to be bigger than the other characters.
Yeah,
and
Bowser's
getting,
the biggest.
Bowser's taller than Donkey
Oh,
Kong.
Robotnik is taller than Bowser.
Yeah, and it's like, just stop it.
and they were like, the room has a ceiling, and they're all going to fit in the room.
I want to know the conversations that happened with like NetherRealm, where they're like, we had a great idea for what this character could, like, what if we want Superman to kill a lot of people? And they're like, maybe?
What
I
if
don't
he
know.
ripped off fingers individually?
Yeah.
And smiled while he did it.
Is testicles a bone? Mortal Kombat says yes.
Who else do you have as we run
V
down
from
the
V
last
for
few?
Vendetta, who's a good fit. That's another WB property.
Sure.
Obviously, sort of impromptu mascot for 4chan at this point. More kind of aligned with anonymous internet use than anything else, but does a bunch of cool knife stuff. It'd be kind of cool. Stop putting my picture on the pictures.
Maybe Max, you should be in Mortal Kombat.
Speaking of Maxes, what about Mad Max, which is what I am becoming after Barrett has been changing all the pictures? What are you just going to show a picture of me? There it is, Mad Max. No, we got that. We got that Mad Max game a few years ago. Obviously, they got WB has some like Mad Max graphics floating around. They could probably just drag and drop that into Mortal Kombat. That's how that works, right?
Save it as .Mortal Kombat, and you got it.
I feel like they'd look
How
at this and
games
they'd be like, he's not tough enough. We need let's just get Master Blaster in there and you just have like, I don't know, just a really weird
So
stuff.
who would be tough enough? Because you have a few men in suits as we get toward the end of the list.
John Wick.
Yeah.
Hugely popular right now.
Sure.
We get the bootleg John Wick in Fortnite. It's hot with the kids. I feel like the folks at NetherRealm probably are big fans of John Wick. I'm going to kill you, Barrett. That's not John Wick. That's from the prequel where he gets the telephone booth. I think another one obviously would be Neo from The Matrix. I feel like Neo is kind of too, like they got to get Keanu Reeves' face right. So I think Agent Smith would make more sense because it's sort of almost like a shapeshiftery type thing. This one is going to make everyone.
I love.
This is, I think, the best idea.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
Yes.
I think Beetlejuice should be in Mortal Kombat.
That makes sense.
I love that.
Yeah, we got to see Beetlejuice in Lego Dimensions. This is it's a horrible character, and also he makes spikes shoot out of his body, and he tries to, like, I don't know, have sex with ghosts. Like he's just he's very awful. He's basically also the Joker. If you watch that movie, that's pretty much a prototypical like Heath Ledger Joker.
Well, thinking about like WB property is like, if we introduce Chucky into the fold, we could also get like the Gremlins.
The Gremlins are pretty
Ooh,
cool.
yeah.
That's a weird one though, because it sort of walks that fine line where it's like, is this a family Christmas movie or is this a straight up horror film?
Yeah.
All right, getting very silly here. Ed Boon, one of the co-creators of Mortal
Yep.
Kombat. I think he would be awesome. Obviously, if we can't get Sakurai in Smash, just get Ed Boon in Mortal Kombat.
What would his fatality be?
Being incredibly nice.
Oh.
I don't even know what that would look like. I feel like I can't imagine this man being hurtful in real life. Like he's very pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what he would do. Maybe he would it would be like one of those like Looney Tunes cartoons where like the animator is trying to kill Bugs Bunny by like undesigning him or something. But yeah, there was a video floating around of the making of Mortal Kombat 3 that had Ed Boon and I guess Tobias doing like demonstrating the stunts for the rotoscope actors when they were doing sort of proto mocap basically. And it was just them on like a trampoline doing these like sort of awkward kung fu moves that they saw in movies.
That video is great, by the way.
It's amazing. So I want Ed Boon in there. He's lovely. Somebody on,
Your final
on this
choice
list,
is odd.
Yes,
it's
this is-
so strange you would do
I
this.
wonder
Max.
who wrote Sora in Mortal Kombat. Who wants to see the Kingdom Heart himself?
I want to see
think-
Sora's spleen for sure.
I think it makes total sense, and obviously, with Kingdom Hearts being as M-rated as it is,
to be
I think
fair,
he's an obvious.
I have always wanted to kick Sora in the balls so hard that his testicles explode.
Can't wait for
I'm
the
sorry,
500
Kingdom Hearts fans.
YouTube comments about
Sorry,
that.
that's a Mortal Kombat joke. You can do that in the last game. I don't know how they're making another one. I don't know how they're going to top that.
Well, your obvious love of wanting Sora in Mortal Kombat 11 seems like the best transition point to go into another Kingdom Hearts minute, reviving this long-forgotten segment on Beyond
this joke
from
that
years ago.
most people don't like.
Yes.
All right,
but I
I'm
just
putting
wanna
1
do it
minute on
very
the
quickly.
clock. For just full disclosure, this was Jonathan's idea.
It was.
We're letting
I
him.
did
He
this.
programmed the show. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Go.
So they released the Kingdom Hearts 3 Final Battle trailer. This was a trailer that made Barrett Courtney, our producer, say, I kind of liked that. I sort of might play this. He probably won't, but he had to play all the games for work, and I appreciated your work, Barrett. That Final Battle trailer is insane. So much happens in that trailer. I felt like it spoiled a lot of the game, but you saw the scope of how this is really bringing in every plot, every character, every through line of this entire franchise of 9 or 10 games into a single final culminating adventure. And it's kind of crazy. They showed some worlds that we hadn't really seen before. Obviously, we saw all the Disney worlds that we know so far. That was all amazing. I loved all of that. Unfortunately, of course, there was also apparently a Kingdom Hearts 3 leak going around. Someone apparently has full copies of the game, missing the epilogue and secret movie. Nonetheless, stay safe, be vigilant, don't get spoiled. We're only like 6 weeks away. It is very important that you don't ruin this game. You, mostly me, have been waiting 10, 12, 30 years for it, feels like, but it is finally soon coming, and I cannot wait to play.
Oh, and you hear that? It's Silk.
Worked. Perfect.
Brian, next week I think you should put this on your phone because I want to go on my phone when he's talking. It's very boring.
I actually yawned right before the timer started. That's where we were.
Have you ever yawned so hard you thought you were dying?
Oh, God. Well,
I think you did well.
Thank you, Lucy. That was
There
the
we
first
go.
and probably only one you'll have to endure. I'm not really going to do that before the game comes out.
You
Again,
can do whatever
we're
you
very
want.
close.
It brings you joy, and it lets us nap.
The game will hopefully bring me joy.
I hear
January
if you type
29th,
Kingdom Hearts
2019.
onto the computer, it will be spoiled for you.
That's apparently what happens.
So don't go near the internet. If this means that we get like a few months where Kingdom Hearts fans aren't using the internet out of fear of spoilers, like
You have a few weeks of
well,
solace.
yeah.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I wanted to do another edition of Trophy Test. If you haven't heard Trophy Test, this is where I quiz the fellow members of the show on whether or not they know trophies from past PlayStation games. I am obsessed with trophies, they less so. But we're going to find
I got
out.
my first platty.
Oh,
this
congratulations.
year.
What was
Thank
it?
you, Spider-Man.
Of course. Yeah. It's a fun one.
You're leaving that one behind too, right?
Yeah.
What a shame. You'll be sure to get another, probably not any of these, but we are going through Uncharted trophies. So
Ooh.
The whole
I have
series?
Okay.
the whole series. I
Okay.
have trophies from 7 games.
Thank
so,
you for picking a series that I've definitely played a lot of.
Of course.
Rather than
Happy to help
Kingdom
this time rather than Kingdom Hearts. Starting from the top, we will go down. I will ask you all to tell me what is the real trophy. What is the real of these two trophies? So
I'm so bad at this.
for reference for the first 3 games, they are the remastered versions that came in the trilogy. Anyway, just for sticklers at home. Uncharted 1. The Fat and the Furious. Complete a speed run as Donut Drake.
Ooh.
The second one. I Can Only Have One. Complete the game as Donut Drake without dying. Which of those is the real one? Lucy, I will start with you.
2.
You say 2 is the real one. Max
I think 2.
and Brian.
1.
Brian, you got it correct. The Fat and the Furious is the real one.
Oh
Despite my
my.
love of the Fast and the Furious, that is a real trophy in that game.
I remember specifically like a year or two ago, there was a bunch of articles popped up about Donut Drake, and people were pretty pissed about that one specifically.
Moving on to question number 2. This is Uncharted 2, of course. Relic Manipulator. Rotate 10 relics. Relic Finder. Find the strange relic. I just said relic a lot. Lucy, which of those is the real trophy?
1.
Max, which is the real trophy?
I think 1.
And Brian, which is the real trophy?
2.
The correct answer is 2. Relic Finder. Find the strange
Don't
relic.
say what I say because it's wrong.
I'm going against you guys every time, and
That's
it's
smart.
working.
It's been smart so far.
Let's screw them up and have different answers next time.
Okay.
Lucy.
Perfect. For the Uncharted 3 remaster, which of these is the real trophy? Catch that plane. Beat Chapter 16, one shot at this in less than 12 minutes. Or got a glass of water? Beat Chapter 17, don't get burned in less than 8 minutes. Which of those is the real trophy?
You want to start
Start
with
with
me?
Brian.
Yeah,
2.
let's go.
2.
2 is the real trophy? Okay, Max. Catch that plane or got a glass of water?
I think 1.
You say 1?
I want to say 1 as well.
Okay.
And I don't want to just be that person. Okay, I say 1.
The correct answer is 1.
Yes.
Catch that
Oh!
plane. Yes. Max, Lucy, you both get a point. Moving on to Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Which is the real trophy? School's out. Scatter 3 groups of fish while swimming underwater. Or on porpoise. My voice cracked there because I'm still going through puberty. Get 3 dolphins to follow the boat. Which of those is the real trophy? School's out or on
I
porpoise?
don't think you can say on porpoise without your voice
It's
cracking.
it's
like,
impossible.
period.
Yeah. Brian, I'll start with you.
Oh man, I don't remember you can get the dolphins.
I apparently don't remember anything of that from that game. I remember the part where he got all those rocks in his ass.
Wait,
Wow.
what was 2? You don't need to say the name.
the
What
porpoise.
is the description?
Get 3 dolphins to follow the boat.
I didn't even do that.
You honk the horn on the boat.
Okay,
They
I know
love
what
the
I'm going to
horn.
say.
Okay.
1.
You say 1 is real?
I think 2.
2?
2.
On porpoise. Get 3 dolphins to follow the boat is the real one.
I actually
Dolphins.
think
Yes.
I got that trophy. That's why I said
That's why you
think I
remember
won
that
that
one?
trophy.
Okay.
I think I did, yeah.
I totally forgot you could do that.
You'll not have to get it again. I'm sorry. Because you lost your whole profile. Moving on. Uncharted Golden Abyss.
Ooh.
One of these is real. Touch my rear. Use the back touchpad to climb a rope or chain. I hate saying both of these. Number 2. Just blow me.
Wow.
Blow into the microphone to dust off a relic. Which of those is the real trophy?
I think 1.
It's got to be 1.
1.
They can't do the other one.
It's 1. I just really, that came to mind and I couldn't not do it. You all get a point for that
Did you
one.
do that? You could blow in the microphone?
That was a DS thing. I don't actually know if you could do that on Vita, but I know there was a microphone there, so I figured I'd make it work. Moving on, Uncharted The Lost Legacy. Which of these is the real one? Georgina of the Jungle. Climb and reach the top of 10 trees. Or Tarzana. Perform 5 grapple hooks in a row without touching the ground. Which of those is the real trophy? Lucy.
They both suck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 1.
Okay. You say 1 is the real trophy?
Yeah.
Max?
I think 2.
Brian?
1.
The correct answer is 2.
What?
Tarzana. Congratulations, Max. Yeah.
Tarzana?
Tarzana. Yeah, I was trying to think of what was the worst other female change name I could do. So I went with Georgina. Moving on. Uncharted Fight for Fortune. This is the final one. Uncharted Fight for Fortune.
What's the score right now?
The score right now? Max has 4.
What?
Yeah.
I'm very good at games. I'm the gamer.
Lucy, you have 3. And then Brian, you also have 3.
Wow.
I'm going to platinum
I
trophy,
believe, unless
trophy
I
hound.
miscounted.
This
But
is
I think
called.
I had
Doesn't
2. Doesn't matter.
None of this matters. Uncharted Fight for Fortune. Which of these is real? Kitty Got Wet. Win your first online multiplayer match. Or Nate No. Lose 5 matches online. Which of those is the real trophy?
I feel like it's the first one.
I feel like it's the first one too, because you wouldn't traditionally be punished for losing. You'd be encouraged.
I've actually had trophies before, not related to this game. Just saying, I have had trophies that did require you to lose things.
Have
or
they
die.
acknowledged like the Nate No joke? Like
No,
I feel like that's
yeah. Kitty Got Wet is like a terrible Uncharted line, I think.
yeah.
Isn't he like kills a cat or something?
Yeah, he does. The
Fights a
end of the
lion.
first game, he snaps a cat's neck for no reason.
Throws it out of a hot air
Really
balloon.
weird.
Brian, which of those is the real one?
1 is the cat killer. The drowned cat.
Max.
I think one.
Okay.
1.
Lucy. The correct answer is 1. Kitty Got Wet is the real trophy. So coming in, Max, since you all got that question right, Max, you won. Congratulations.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Well done.
I guess
Well
you could
deserved.
say I platinumed that challenge, except I missed a bunch of them.
You got 4 or 5 out of 7. That's not bad.
It's an easy plat, as they say.
IGN.com gave it 5 out of 7 trophies.
That's right.
Max, when you're not winning rounds of trophy test, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Max Scoville, Instagram, Max Scoville.
And Brian, where can people find you?
At Agent Bizzle.
Lucy, where can people find you?
Luce O'Brien on Twitter and Instagram.
And I am at JM Dornbush on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me there now for new cute photos of my dog.
Hey, you got a dog.
Yeah, I got a dog.
That's right. Go see that dog. It's a good dog.
Little Loki.
It's a good dog.
Please check him out.
It's a real good dog. Go take a look at that
Real
dog.
good dog.
You are asking for just a basket of trouble, naming your dog after the god of mischief.
Oh, I know. We could tell kind of from the first minute he was going to be a little troublemaker.
He did something that I've wanted to do in many meetings yesterday and just took a shit on the floor. We were like, all right, so
He took a shit in an IGN conference room.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
we're supposed to shit on games here, guys.
Not the
floor.
rooms. But anyway, that has been episode 571 of Beyond, our weekly PlayStation show here. Remember, Beyond is live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific at beyond.ign.com and then Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific on YouTube and podcast services. Thank you so much for watching, and as always,
And
Beyond.
remember, Mortal Kombat! Sub-Zero, Sonya Blade,
Sora,
Kano,
Baraka.
Test the mic.
Beyond.
Mortal Kombat.
I love those ninjas.
Oh, God.